ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Sports fans from all around the globe, I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for Tea Time Wagers with good friend and colleague, Mr. Brady Kannon. Go follow him, of course, at Las Vegas Golfer on Twitter, and you can catch all his work at Sports Grid. And, of course, you know, we can't script this stuff. The FedEx truck just pulls up and Cujo himself is barking here. So apologies. We will get through this, of course. Shout out to the man behind the glass, Mr. Elijah Cox. Thank you so much for all the work you do. Shout out to our proud sponsors, WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download that app. It is free. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 6 flavors in all. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. And last but never least, we got a big box coming in here. I know it's not mine. AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Head on over to Facebook. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith. Bounce on back to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steaks, chops, seafood, appetizers, wine. Terry's got it all. He's also got 4 set it and forget it subscription plans. Check a box every 30 days. We will have protein delivered to your house. The only thing that you'll need is a spare propane tank. So without further ado, Mr. Brady Kannon.
Hey, Mr. Dawson. Good to be with you, my friend. Both you and I spending a little time out of town while the PGA Tour made their way to Hilton Head Island last week. And nice to be back in the saddle here. And kind of, you go from the most thrilling Masters I think I've seen in my lifetime. And then, you go to the low country and you kind of relax a little bit, but it's a signature event and, Justin Thomas breaks through. Now we go full unwind mode and we just relax and have some fun and a little team event in the Big Easy. It's kind of nice, that progressive wind down. And as we start to ramp it right back up in a few weeks for another major championship. So, kind of a cool time on the PGA Tour right now.
My headliner is the Zurich Classic as easy, no pun intended there, as Rory and Lowry, plus 375 at Circle. We'll get to that, of course. Your selections not only for the PGA, we have LIV and the LPGA, their first major going on this weekend as well. I want to go back to last weekend. JT had been knocking even before we turned the calendar to 2025. It looked like he started to figure things out late in the winter back east here. And then a couple weeks ago, looked like he was going to win. And Victor Hovland said, "Oh, not so fast." But had a great tournament, had some bumps, but at the end, a great Sunday. You weren't sure what was going to happen. Sudden death, OT, whatever you want to call it, but he prevailed.
Yeah, and Andrew Novak continues to be right there, and we were on him a few weeks ago at the Valero Texas Open when again just kind of fell apart on Sunday. This guy's getting close, and we're going to talk about him in a minute. Maybe the team event could really be something that allows him to get across the finish line. Sometimes you need that teammate, you need someone to lean on, and we'll see it. Keith Mitchell's another guy who has, been awful close in the last month or so. And we've seen him do well in this team event before. And JT, I'm kicking myself a little bit. You and I often talk about him specifically when he's kind of gone through these trials and tribulations, you know, the hot and cold points of his career in the last couple of years. Hadn't won since the 2022 PGA Championship at Southern Hills. And we're trying to find that right spot. And sure enough, you know, it was last week and we let it pass. And I just hate that, because we have chosen a couple spots with him and it's been okay, but he's been so volatile. You know, I mean, what he shoot 62 or something like that at the Players Championship, and then, you know, next day it's like 78 at the Masters. He wasn't very good. And you know, I obviously should have gave him another shot. He made all kinds of sense in my stats, and I don't know why. I can't remember my thinking on why I didn't end up landing on him, but he definitely made sense. I'm happy to see it, and that's just going to generate more buzz for him at Quail Hollow, where, of course, he won the PGA Championship in 2017. That's where we're going back again in a few weeks, Charlotte, North Carolina, for the 2025 PGA. I was thinking about this last night. JT and Rory are going to come in with more buzz into this major, I think, than anybody else. Rory's won here 3 or 4 times at this golf course. JT, as I mentioned, wins the PGA in 2017. And I tell you what, you know, I may be kicking myself again, but I don't think I'll be on either one of them, Jeff.
You know, I did have that 2022 JT ticket in my pocket there. It is so hard, especially after a major. You know, I try to compare it to like the Kentucky Derby, where you get a horse that you want to get in peak form, all lathered up for that race. They don't fire, and then it's hard to come back with them in the next race. In golf, is so much between the ears. A lot of these guys were lathered up for the Masters. The mental part of it, to just grab your clubs on Sunday, man, did I bleep, bleep, bleep. And just to tune it out and to get yourself ready for a signature event. And he was able to do it. And I'm going to lead into this. Are we starting to get worried about Scheffler? Meaning, I saw a lot of errant shots. We've seen a lot of errant shots. We know it's not Scottie being Scottie at this point, but he always ends up top 10. I get that part, but I'm not going to lay the minus 500 for top 5s and 10s and his plus 375, 400, or 500 outright, especially pre-flop. Him and Xander, but especially Scottie. Are you getting just a little worried, Brady?
Yeah. It'd be cool to find a market. Will Scottie Scheffler win a major in 2025? And I wonder what the price on the no would be. You know, there's only 3 left. Obviously would have been a better bet, you know, a month ago or so prior to the Masters. But I think I could see that absolutely being a shutout for Scottie Scheffler. And like you say, I mean, he's still finishing top 10. It's not like he's all that shabby, but it's not what we're used to the last couple of seasons, which, in fairness to Scheffler, was really outlier type stuff. So the guy's not completely off the boil. You know, Tiger went through stuff like this too. And the reason I mentioned Tiger is because Scottie's trajectory has been, you know, on that type of plane. So it'll be interesting going forward. So far, it's been the year of Rory, not the year of Scottie. I did see a proposition bet last night. I believe I was looking at it at the Superbook, the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas. Our friend Jeff Sherman, the golf odds maker over there, had you know, Rory to win the exact amount of majors this year. Just one, obviously has that one with the Masters, was a pretty heavy favorite. I want to say it was minus 350. To win 2 majors was plus 250. To win exactly three majors was 25 to 1. And then to hit the Grand Slam, the same season slam, was 100 to 1. I felt 100 to 1 was way too cheap. You know, for him to win all 4 majors, I felt that was closer to like 500 to 1, maybe, you know, 350 to 1. I mean, what are really the odds of that happening? You never get a good price on these type of markets, in my opinion. 25 to 1 to win 3 majors, that felt way too short as well. That feels to me more like 100 to 1, maybe higher. 2 majors plus 250? No, I would think, I mean, he's basically 5 to 1 to win the British, the US, the PGA, whatever. I would think to win 2 majors would be more like 5 or maybe 5 to 1. And yeah, just to win one is certainly the favorite. Maybe that's the most fair price of them all. But I thought it was interesting to see that market, kind of similar to what we're talking about with Scottie. They're both going to be there. I think we know that. Where to invest properly is, something to figure out.
And even at 5-1, I was going to say 7-1. So I mean, if you bet $100 on the 5-1 and one, and then you bet that 500 that you just won on the next 5-1, right? So now you're at 2,500, and then if you bet that 2,500 on the 5-1, now you're getting the odds that you were talking about.
Yeah, those, it's kind of similar to the market that you see like before we get to the Masters. Will X player win a major in X year? And I think I made that bet one time, and I did it on John Rahm at like 4-1, which was a pretty decent number. I think it got a little lower. But I quickly learned that there's not a lot of value in those markets. I think it's better to go week to week. You never really get a juicy number in that type of situation, at least in my experience. So I think that's the only time I've ever bet something like that, and it's not, again, a market that really attracts my eye, because it doesn't feel like the prices are ever really good. And I can understand the book doesn't want to expose themselves. I think there's more day-to-day, week-to-week opportunities where you do get a fair price.
Well, I'm going to pull this up right now as we're going to slip on into the ZURICH Classic, the Big Easy. As you said, I took a snapshot before we went live from the circa here, and it's kind of comical because Lowry and McIlroy are at plus 375. Then the closest after that is Kitayama and Morikawa at plus 1250. Mitchell and Poston plus 1750, and then Dietrich McIntyre plus 2100, and then we'll go down the list as we progress here. But it's kind of comical because I think the average golfer that's looking to scratch an itch is going to say to you, you're going to give me plus 375 for Rory and Lowry. Count me in, coach.
Yeah, I'm glad Rory's teeing it up just a couple weeks after his, historic victory there at Augusta, of course. These guys had a blast last year partying it up in New Orleans after they won in a playoff. And, the recent results of this tournament, it was in 2017 that they switched to the team format. And I don't think everybody really accepted it immediately, but now it's really become an event that the players and fans, and I think bettors are coming around, warming up to it as well. I think this event's really starting to be embraced, and it helps when guys like Rory and Lowry win, and you get some names in these fields. And Morikawa playing with Kitayama, both local Las Vegas guys, and you get Morikawa teaming up with Max Homa, a couple of Cal Bear guys, and and I think these guys really enjoy, like we talked about. I think it's a little bit more relaxed. Hey, let's have some fun. Let's team up. It's something different. You're in a great town to kind of exhale a little bit and let your guard down and just have some good old fashioned golfing fun. So I've really started to enjoy this event. We've seen favorites, in the last handful of years. I think it's 4 out of the last 5 years. The average price of the winner has been like 20-1 or less. But at the same time, you definitely get some long shots. I mean, it was last year, Chad Ramey and Martin Traynor were in a playoff against Rory and Lowry. And who knows what their odds were, 200. I don't know what they were. But there every year in this event, there's a pairing that shows up out of nowhere. And it's a totally difficult handicap because it's hard enough to pick one guy to win a golf tournament. Now you have a two-headed monster, and you're trying to assign a value to, a puzzle that has two pieces rather than just one. We have data on how Justin Thomas plays and how Rory McIlroy plays and how every individual plays. We don't have data on how what they perform like when you pair them up. And then you have different formats. One day is best ball, which is they both play their own ball and the lowest score is recorded for their team score. The next day they play alternate shot, or what they call foursomes. So there's so many moving parts here trying to and that's what I recommend to people too. Dumb down the risk this week. This is not where you want to push all your chips in and go, yeah, this is really random. And like I said, let's have some fun. Let's relax a little bit. I don't think this one is one to spend a lot of money on. I've come close a couple times, but I have yet to pick a winner here, I believe, in the team format. Usually I take all the guys that I play for an outright, and I also play them for a top 20 finish. I didn't do that this week because there's so much unknown. At the same time, I don't think it's bad to just take all the guys that I played for an outright and play them only for a top 20 finish. The top 33 teams and ties make the cut. And that's what you're looking for, really, I think, in this tournament, is to hope, because oftentimes you do not know how a team is going to show up or not show up at all. It's pretty random. And what we're dealing with this week, the handicap is much more qualitative rather than quantitative. Again, we don't necessarily have numbers that we can assign to these teams. You look at all the stats and you're like, okay, player A is really good at this and player B is really good at this. That looks like a good match. And a lot of it is just, again, a gut feeling. You're trying an educated guess, if you will, much more so, I believe, than week to week in individual stroke play tournaments. So it's a tough nut to crack this week. Let's kind of, get in lockstep with what the tour players are doing here. Let's have some fun, dumb down the risk, see if we can hit one. Great. And we'll move on to the next week.
ZURICH Classic 2025, April 24th through the 27th, Avondale, Louisiana, par 72, yardage 74.25. Correlated courses, how you came up with your outrights this week?
Yeah, the skill sets I looked at, real basic. Again, it's hard to get too deep into the weeds when you really don't have a lot of hard data to go off of here. Strokes gained tee to green, who's playing well from tee to green. Strokes gained approach, we always want to look at that. Strokes gained putting on Bermuda grass, scrambling. Birdies are better gained. You got to make birdies here. The average, or I shouldn't say the average, but the winning score proposition bet this week at the Westgate Superbook, 26.5 under par. Seems about right. That's usually where we get with this one. And then par 4 scoring in the neighborhood of 450 to 500 yards. Those are the bulk of the par 4s at TPC Louisiana, a Pete Dye design. Correlated courses, Narashino, where they play the Zozo Championship, PGA National, where they play the old Honda, the Cognizant, Detroit Golf Club, where they play the Rocket Mortgage, the Stadium Course, another Pete Dye design, where they play the bulk of the rounds at the American Express, and then TPC Twin Cities, a lot of crossover success we see, and that kind of makes sense. A lot of TPC courses are designed similarly. I think if you look at TPCs and Dye designs, that's a good place to start with correlated courses. So that's that. Again, you kind of throw all this into the soup and see what makes sense to you, Jeff.
Well, the tee box is yours, and we will start here with the ZURICH Classic in New Orleans with your outrights.
Yeah, this team has never been paired up before, but they caught my eye right from the get-go. They were a couple of guys that both made a lot of sense individually in my stats, and then they happened to be paired up together, and that's Keith Mitchell and JT Poston. You mentioned there at Circa, that it looks like they've taken some action. I got them at 20-1, and at Circa down to plus 1750. Both of these guys have had some success at this event in the past, most namely Mitchell, who's been 4th and 6th here in the past. I was on him a couple of years ago. I think he finished 4th or 6th. I can't remember which one it was, but he was paired with Soon JM, and they were right there for a minute, and then on Sunday kind of fell back. Poston is playing great. He's only missed one cut all season, comes off an 11th place finish last week at Harbour Town. Mitchell's last 3 starts, 18th, 12th, and then runner-up at Corrales Punta Cana last week. And then, I think this is kind of part of the handicap as well. I think ideally, when you're talking like Rory and Lowry, you've got a couple guys that basically do everything well. And that's why they're a heavy favorite. And they're a couple of the best players in the world. if you're not going to go that direction, you're looking for kind of the next best thing where both guys really excel, off the tee, short game, what have you. In the case of Mitchell and Poston, I think it's complementary skill sets, which I like too. You often hear the term when you're playing in your local member guest scramble, whatever mixer at the country club, you ham and egg it. One guy's taking care of this end of the business and one guy's taking care of this end. And I think that's kind of the case with Mitchell and Poston, or at least potentially, where Mitchell is really, really good off the tee, one of the best in the game with the driver in his hand, and Poston with a really magical short game. So I like that complementary skill set there. Again, they've had success here. These guys have both been playing really well. I think they make a lot of sense. Wyndham Clark and Taylor Moore. Taylor Moore has been off for a few weeks with a rib injury. This tells me he's back healthy and ready to go. Wyndham Clark, I'm not so sure he isn't better in a team format. Did very well with the TGL this year. He hasn't been all that great in stroke play events and has done very well here at the Zurich Classic. I was actually on him a couple of years ago when he was paired with BUEHLER. Between he and Taylor Moore, they have 4 top 10 finishes at this event. And again, complementary skill sets. Wyndham really good on and around the greens, and Taylor Moore very good off the tee. I got them at 22-1, I believe was the price there. They also make a bunch of birdies, both of these guys. So I think they're going to be a team that'll be in the mix. And this is maybe the one that caught my eye first. Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak. And we talked about Novak. I got him at 25, or this team at 25-1. Obviously, not many people have been playing better than Andrew Novak as of late, with a couple of top 5 finishes, runner-up, loser in a playoff last week at Harbour Town against a signature field. This guy's really starting to play some good golf. And like I say, maybe he just needs that wingman, to help him get across the finish line. And Griffin is a very good player. He's got top 10 finishes at 2 of our correlated courses this season, at the Cognizant, at PGA National, and also at the American Express. And I think complementary skill sets in line here as well. Griffin, a really good iron player, 14th in this field for strokes gained approach the last 24 rounds, and Novak, 4th in scrambling. So I think these are a couple young guys that are playing pretty good golf right now and could make some noise here in an event like this. And then after that, I went with more long shots. Again, we mentioned there's going to be some names up there that we don't expect. It has been won by favorites for the most part the last few years, guys closer to the top of the odds board. I took 3 swings with guys that fit into that category, and then a couple of swings with some longer bombs. Doug Ghim and Chan Kim at 50-1. A couple of guys that are really premier ball strikers and kind of fly under the radar week to week. This could be an event where they show up. Ghim has had very good success at Pete Dye Designs, has done very well at the Players Championship. Kim is 23rd in this field for birdies or better gain the last 24 rounds. Ghim is 18th on those par 4s and 11th in strokes gained tee to green. Just feels like a combination of guys that could be pretty good. Maybe they'll make some noise. And then a little bit of a flyer with this one as well on a couple of rookies, Ryan Gerard and Danny Walker. PGA Tour rookies. Gerard has only missed 1 cut all season. He's been fantastic in his rookie campaign. And then Danny Walker, this is a guy that really, showed up at the Players Championship last month when he finished 6th out of nowhere. He was an alternate that got into that field when Jason Day withdrew. And you remember he was right there on Sunday. Again, a Pete Dye design there with Sawgrass. So both players make a ton of birdies. Walker ranks 4th in this field for birdies or better gained, and Gerard is 10th. They both rank inside the top 30 in this field for strokes gained tee to green. So Ryan Gerard, Danny Walker at 60-1. Ghim and Kim at 50, Griffin and Novak at 25-1, Poston and Mitchell at 20-1, and then Wyndham Clark and Taylor Moore at 22-1. 5 shots on the outright board. Like I say, I did not play them for top 20. Maybe you want to only play them for top 20. But a tough handicap this week. You take some stabs and see if you can get lucky.
Well, you see me smiling. Nothing better than seeing the Ghim Reaper on the card this week.
Yeah, the Gim Reaper, and we have some fun with his nickname and everything like that, but the guy never seems to win. He shows up quite a bit, and he's done well. Like I say, at Pete Dye Designs, he's a very good player. He's a great ball striker, and sometimes I think just having a teammate can really push these guys over the top. You got to pick the right one. Which one's going to fire? Team chemistry, complementary skill sets. It's tough to figure out. Again, it's a lot of guesswork this week, not necessarily raw data that we have in front of us. So that's why we dumb down the risk and see if we can get lucky.
Well, like you said, let's have some fun this week. There's so many moving parts here. Listen, I'm thinking of Rory almost as Ovechkin after he won the Stanley Cup. I think he's still drunk right now. So Rory and Lowry, especially in New Orleans, could just have a easy, let's just say, weekend of fun there. How's that sound?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening just because of what has happened. And I know my colleague at Sports Grid last year, Mike Carver, was on Rory and Lowry to win it and nailed that one. Now coming back to defend off of the historic Masters victory, I think these guys are going to have fun again. And yeah, obviously it wouldn't surprise you, but I don't think so. And I'm not going to be on Rory again until after the PGA. I think, we talked about all the hype coming in for the Masters. Now he pulled that off. There's going to be so much more now going into the PGA. Yeah, I'm going to be staying away from Rory for a minute.
Yeah, I'd like them to be on Easy Street having fun at the 19th hole on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday versus threatening this event. And we didn't, add the back-to-back. You know how hard it is to win back-to-backs, Brady?
Right. Absolutely. No, I just, and Lowry was interesting too. He had a little bit of not a blow up, but he kind of was offended there before the last round of the Masters when they were asking him about Rory. And he said, I'm trying to win this golf tournament too. I'm Shane Lowry. Hello. And I understand that. That's got to be annoying when they keep asking you, a world-class player, about your buddy. And he kind of unraveled on Sunday, should have easily had a top 5, top 10 finish and fell out of that. So he doesn't necessarily come in here, on stable ground. And Rory really kind of carried him last year too. So, is now Shane going to pick up the slack and return the favor for his buddy who, like you say, is, the golf's version of Ovechkin after the Masters? Nah, I stayed away from them. A lot of different reasons. And again, this is all theory. The handicap this week is all theory, right? Not a lot of numbers, not a lot of nuts and bolts. We're trying to play sideline psychologist, and Rory and Lowry are not making my list.
Elijah, quick commercial break, and we are going to come back with the LPGA first major. We'll be right back.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, I'm baby higher.
LPGA Chevron Championship, first major of the year, Mr. Brady Kannon.
Yeah, pretty cool. I did some work for the LPGA this week, and hoping that video will be up soon at lpga.com. Really kind of my first dive into handicapping an LPGA event. I had a blast with it. I worked on it for about 3 days, learning a lot about this golf course, these players. And of course, some of them are familiar, Nelly Korda, world number 1, that type of thing. We've had a lot of tremendous LPGA players go to school right here in Las Vegas at Bishop Gorman High School. I believe it's Inbee Park. I think a 3-time major winner and stuff like that. So I just had a blast with it. And I came up with 5 selections. This, again, is the first major of the year for the ladies, the Chevron Championship, of course, famously the Dinah Shore that used to go at Mission Hills in Rancho Mirage, California, jumping into Poppy's Pond, when they won it. That became a tradition that was really cool. Nelly Corda is your defending champion. She won it last year. Lilia Vu won it in 2023. This will be just the 3rd year that they're playing this at the club at Carlton Oaks, which is in the Woodlands, Texas, about 40 miles out of Houston. They play the Jack Nicklaus signature design course there. And apparently they've got a long deal with Chevron where this is going to be the home of this championship for quite some time, switching over again from Mission Hills in Rancho Mirage, California. Now they compete for the Dinah Shore Trophy. So that's cool. They kept that namesake around. Kind of typical of a Nicklaus golf course, pretty wide fairways and very tough approach shots. The greens are Bermuda grass, have a lot of undulation, shaved runoff areas, a lot of water comes into play, bunkering. What I was able to find is Nelly Corda really got it done with both accuracy and distance off the tee and greens in regulation. So that's kind of where I started my handicap, looking at total driving, strokes gained off the tee, driving distance, greens in regulation, and kind of went from there. I landed on Lim Kim at 25-1. Already a major champion, won the Women's U.S. Open in 2020, and she kicked off this season with a win at the Tournament of Champions, and then followed that up with 3 additional top 10 finishes. She is 4th on the LPGA in strokes gained tee to green, 4th in strokes gained off the tee, and number 1 in total driving, 33rd in greens in regulation. One thing has me concerned, though, Jeff. She is the biggest liability at BetMGM Sportsbook. So evidently, I'm not the only one that likes Lim Kim this week. We'll see how that works out. It worked with Rory. He was the biggest liability for BetMGM at the Masters as well. Lauren Coughlin. A lot of sharp people I know, like this young lady, an American, who finished runner-up right here in Las Vegas a few weeks ago at the match play event at Shadow Creek, and then was 3rd last week at the LPGA event in Los Angeles. She was 3rd at the Chevron here last year. 22nd on the tour in strokes gained tee to green, 16th in total driving, 15th in greens in regulation. And here's a correlated course for you that I was able to come up with. The Annika at Pelican Golf Club in Florida. We've seen a lot of the same names pop up on the leaderboard at that tournament as we have here at the Chevron. In fact, Corda and Lilia Vu won both tournaments. In 2023, Vu won the Annika and the Chevron, same with Corda last year. And Lauren Coughlin has finished 13th and 16th in the past at the Annika. Nana Courts Madsen. And wait, I missed one here. Yulimi No at 40-1. I've seen her down as low as like about 27-1. I've seen 30-1. I was able to grab a 40-1. Yulimi No, again, another player that I've seen some sharp people on this week. Number 1 on the LPGA for strokes gained tee to green, 9th for strokes gained off the tee, 4th in greens in regulation. Won the Founders Cup back in February, followed that up with finishes of 11th, 7th, 6th, and 17th. The current form is great, and she was 9th here at the Chevron last year. And then Nana Courts Madsen. Here's where I went with some longer bombs. My first 3 selections, 25-1 on Kim, 25-1 on Coughlin, in the neighborhood of 30 or 40-1 on Yulimi No, and now 70-1 on Courts Madsen. 3 top 15 finishes already this season, including a top 10 at the Honda in Thailand a couple of months ago. One of the bigger hitters on the LPGA, 7th for strokes gained off the tee, 12th tee to green, 10th in greens in regulation. And in both editions here at Carlton Woods of the Chevron, she has finished top 30, 28th in 2023 and 17th last year. And then finally, Carlota Ciganda, the veteran here, burst on the LPGA in 2012, but still continues to really play well. Finished 6th here in 2023 and 12th here last year. 8th on the LPGA for strokes gained tee to green, 3rd for strokes gained off the tee, 17th in greens in regulation, and has finished 14th and 13th at the Annika at Pelican Golf Club. So we'll see our first dive into the LPGA majors here, 5 selections. I'm really fired up.
Oh, we can't wait here. I'll be definitely flipping the channels between the team event and, of course, the LPGA here. Elijah, one more quick commercial break, and Brady's going to wrap it up with some live action from Mexico City. We'll be right back. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Well, we have the trifecta this week. The PGA team event, the first major in the women's, the LPGA, and the cherry on top, Live, Mexico City, April 25th through the 27th. Club de Golf Chalpute.
Let's see. How do they say it? Golf Club de Chapultepec. Chapultepec. And you probably recall, of course, Mexico City, this golf course is, in the neighborhood of 7,000 feet in elevation. The ball's just going to go a mile. But this was a course on the PGA Tour rotation when we used to have the WGC, the World Golf Championships. They had WGC Mexico for 4 years in a row on the PGA Tour, 2017 through 2020. And, this was pretty, I shouldn't say it was simple, but I didn't have to dive in too deep this week, because it was just, what is that, 3 weeks ago now, 3 or 4 weeks ago now, when they played Live Miami the week before the Masters at Doral. And in doing my research for that tournament, I felt that Chapultepec was one of the correlated courses. And I had seen that Carlos Ortiz, Bryson DeChambeau, and I knew Sergio Garcia, because I had been on Garcia a couple times when they played the WGC Mexico. All these guys had had great success at Chapultepec, and I said, okay, I'm going to try them at Doral. Bryson DeChambeau's leading the tournament going into Sunday at Live Miami. He falls apart, shoots 75. Where have I heard that before? Oh, yeah, did it at the Masters on Sunday as well. So I've got Ortiz, DeChambeau, and Sergio at Live Miami. Every one of them finishes top 5, and I didn't get the winner. That was tough. But it tells me that I got something right there with figuring how these guys played Chapultepec may tie into how they do at Doral. We know Doral, the Blue Monster, a massive golf course, got to be a big hitter. All these guys are big hitters. Sergio, one of the hottest golfers in the world, surprised that he missed the cut at Augusta. But I'm going to go right back to the well with these 3 guys again, because we're playing a course that has a lot of crossover and a lot of similarity and kind of rewards the same skill sets. Sergio, I got him at 14-1. In those WGC Mexico events, he finished 6th, 7th, and 12th, and he was 3rd at Doral a few weeks ago. DeChambeau, got him at 6-1. I've seen him as the shortest shot on the board, and I've also seen Jon Rahm as the shortest shot on the board. I think Rahm opened as the favorite, but DeChambeau in some areas has taken over as the shortest price player on the board now that we've seen a few days of action and what have you. He was runner-up at Chapultepec in 2020 and was 5th a few weeks ago at Doral. Obviously had a good showing at the Masters. Drives it long and straight, maybe the best player on the Live circuit right now, and Sergio might have something to say about that as well. And then Ortiz, 25-1, 16th here at Chapultepec in 2020 at the WGC Mexico, and just finished 4th at Doral. So again, I just cut and paste and went right back to these 3 guys. I think they're 3 of the better I mean, we're only choosing from 50 some players in Live, right? So I think you don't have to go that deep down the board. I think the guys in a small pool like that are playing the best, that are the best on that circuit, makes sense week in and week out. Mark Leishman came up and got us at Doral, again, when we had all 3 of these guys in the top 5. Hey, if you're going to tell me all 3 of these guys are going to finish top 5 again here in Mexico, I'll take it and see where we land.
I love that thought process. I really do. I'm going to ask you one closing question. The Masters, the first look that I got at Circa, DeChambeau was actually the favorite in the live golfers. But then from, let's say, Sunday night all the way up to tee time on Thursday, the Rom Express, the Rom Steam, and then I think DeChambeau closed at 1750. Rom was around that 13, 14 to 1. Rom, maybe a couple good holes, some flashes. We've been saying all along, it's written right there. He needs to get back into the PGA, into that form. The fire's not there. Am I correct to say that, he's just a top 10 machine in live this year, but something's not right there?
I agree. Yeah, it doesn't look like the John Rahm we're used to. And maybe that's starting to surface with Brooks Koepka as well. I was on both of those guys for the Masters. I mean, I still think John Rahm is as good as anybody in the world when he wants to be, when he's in form, when he's in rhythm. And I'm not so sure Koepka is that far behind either. And I felt that those guys would fire at Augusta, and neither one of them did. Koepka, a little bit misleading there. He blows up and makes a snowman, makes an 8 on the 18th hole. He was at 1 over par. He would have made the cut easily. And then he had that wacky hole, the very last hole he played, and he missed the cut. But still, neither of those guys obviously was a top 10 finisher. Rahm made a little bit of a run on Sunday, but it never quite kicked into gear. And we've heard rumblings from both of those guys that they would kind of like to, go back in time and see this situation reversed and go back to the tour and all that stuff. And I hope that there are some needle pushers that move this thing back, to coexistence or what have you, because there, and here it goes,
tea time
noise. Yeah. Because I those are a couple of the guys that I miss. There's not many guys that I miss from the live circuit on the PGA Tour, but those are two of them, and they are absolutely still extremely relevant in the game of golf. And I would agree with you. They don't look like themselves. Koepka a couple years ago won a major. Rahm, of course, a couple years ago won the Masters. Rahm, won on the live circuit last year. It was tremendous at the Olympics. But so far in 2025, they haven't looked the part.
I agree. Scroller's been going the whole time. They know where to find you on Twitter, of course, at Las Vegas Golfer. But as we always wrap up this segment, Brady, tell them where they can find all your written work and, of course, your Sports Grid schedule.
Yeah, Sports Grid, I'll be on later today at 7:30 Eastern and again at 10 p.m. Eastern. The written work you can find at golf.com. That's also there on my Twitter feed. And I'm hoping to get word that video will come out at lpga.com. Like I say, had a lot of fun doing some content for this Chevron Championship. Really excited to see, hopefully have some of our players on top of the leaderboard. And then, of course, we'll be back on the grid this weekend as well, Saturday and Sunday evening, doing some shows there, talking golf, baseball, probably get a visit from Mr. Dawson at some point over the weekend as well.
Brady, we can't thank you enough. Glad you had a great hour over the weekend, and best of luck this week, especially in the LPGA and live as well. And we'll hope to catch up this weekend.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Brady Kannon, go follow him at Las Vegas Golfer. Last commercial break, Elijah, and then we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned.
Jared, hey, we're going to need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
That's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
The trifecta of golf. What a weekend we have here. Brady Kannon at Las Vegas Golfer. Of course, you can find him on the Sports Grid as well. PGA team event in New Orleans, the ZURICH Classic, excuse me. And then we jumped over to the LPGA, the Chevron Championship. There, the first major of the women's event. And then we end with the cherry on top, Mexico City Live. So Brady covered the whole board here. Exciting golf action and great insight. Again, it's not easy. It's not just opening up a board, circling your favorite golfer, and presto bango, you run into the window to cash your ticket, because there's only one winner. So there's a million ways to skin this cat. Top 20s, as Brady said, especially in the PGA. I told you to dumb it down. Have some fun with it, because that's what these golfers are going to do. And then, of course, the LPGA and the Live. Tomorrow, 11:05 a.m., Matthew George is back talking some NBA playoffs. And we're going to follow it up with Mr. Sean Alvarez, as it's the last weekend before the Kentucky Derby. So we'll have Sean on at 11:35 tomorrow talking some horses. And then next week we'll have him on Thursday and Friday as we get ready for the Kentucky Derby. Big shout out and applause to Mr. Elijah Cox making this all happen. To everyone that was watching, thank you guys so much. Thanks for all the love and support. And we